What's going on, After 5 crew? Welcome back to After 5 Garage, and for those of you that are new here to the channel, my name is Matt and I'm your host, and welcome to After 5 Garage. We mainly focus on little fun DIY projects that we could do either after our 9 to 5 or on the weekend when we have the free time. So today, we're going to be working on my 2006 4Runner. Lately, I've been converting all the interior lights to white LED. The one and only thing that I have yet to convert are the gauges. From the factory, the gauges are like this orange kind of shade, and I'm trying to convert them to white. Today, I'm going to show you what it takes to get that done. Now, this project does require soldering. I'm not going to dedicate this video to teaching you how to solder. This is just going to be mainly a how-to video on how to convert your gauge cluster from one color to another. Now I have a little workstation set up inside, so what we have to do first is get the gauge cluster out of the vehicle. Once the gauge cluster's out, we'll head inside and we'll start deconstructing the gauge cluster to get down to the circuit board. On the 4th Gen 4Runners, there are two 10mm bolts down here. You're going to pop this panel out. Once you got this lower panel popped off, coming up back to the gauge cluster, this whole panel up here is held in with clips. What people recommend doing is you grip right here and right here at the same time, and you pull back towards you, and that should release this whole panel right here. This is now free. I'm going to go ahead and loosen the electrical connectors that are on this side. Now, going back to the cluster, we have 5 10mm bolts, 2 at the bottom, and we got 3 at the top. If I'm not mistaken, I believe these 2 right here are for the electrical connections. So we're going to go ahead and get all 5 of these removed. Just to confirm, those 2 were connected to the connectors in the back. Going to go ahead and slide out the cluster like so. You could see the harnesses. This one actually just clips back in here. There we go. The 10mm stay on the cluster like that. All right, so now let's go take this inside and get down to the nitty-gritty. You just want to take this opportunity to kind of just go around and just look where all the bolts and clips are. So as you can see, there's just going to be some Phillips head screws. Flip it around on the back side. There's going to be some Phillips head screws you're going to have to remove. Some plastic tabs that you're going to have to press in. So yeah, we're going to just slowly get through this and let's get inside of here. Just a little reference on where I ordered my LEDs from. I just want to be fully transparent. Lighthouse LEDs. So this company's been in business for a long time. They're here in the United States. And as you can see, we have orange and white. I picked orange and white. You could pick whatever colors you want. In this case, just so you know what we're working with, PLCC2. PLCC2 basically is the LED style. This is what you're going to need to order if you have a 4Runner and you're trying to do this to yours. This is what you're going to need. I hope this is good information and helps making order your stuff easier. So at this point, what you want to do is just take a picture of the needles and the positions that they're at. That way I know exactly where to put the needles back when I go to reassemble. got it now. Okay. So it was being held on with the pins down here for the odometer. So I was overthinking it. I thought that there was maybe a hidden tab or a hidden screw, and it was actually just being held on with these little pins down here. There's our gauge cluster all taken apart. I don't believe we're gonna have to do anything with this in particular. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put this to the side, and that way it doesn't get scratched or damaged. Looking at it like this is your bottom, this is your top, and then if you want, you could kind of use this as reference just to kind of get an idea of what bulbs are gonna be where. So based off of this, it looks like we have our tachometer all right here. We have our speedometer right here. Looks like our fuel gauge is going to be these three. And it looks like our coolant temperature gauge is going to be here. And then our gas gauge is going to be this. And then down here, I'm going to convert the odometer to a newer OEM orange just to kind of go for an OEM plus. And then for the needles, I'm going to leave them red. There's really no reason to convert those. With that being said, let me kind of show you what we're working with here. On these LEDs, as you can see, they are soldered onto the board. If you get close enough, you'll notice there'll be a little notch taken out of the corner. That's going to be your ground. So basically, you're going to take your new LEDs and you're going to match it up exactly how these are on the board, and you're just going to solder it on the exact same way. So we got a good afternoon ahead of us to knock this out. Going to go ahead and get started. We're going to do this as slow, steady as possible. There's no rush. We want to make sure we get even coverage and good soldering. Heat up one side. Basically going to get the solder nice and hot. And basically, as I'm melting the solder, I'm just very carefully lifting up on the LED. There we go. So the LED has been removed. Put that off to the side. Now what I like to do, grab some new solder and basically just smooth out what I just did and make sure there's nice, fresh, clean solder on the board. So when you add your new LED, you'll be ready to go. And I know it's really hard to see, so bear with me, guys. As you can see right where my thumb is, there's two solder pads. All I did was just heat it up, remove the LED once the solder was soft enough, and now we have a bare board right there, bare solder pads. So now we're going to grab our new LED and just basically reverse order. We're just going to melt one side at a time and make sure it's a good connection, and then move on to the next one. I want to mimic the exact way the last LED or the old LEDs were on here. And that's going to be the little notch taken out of the upper right corner. Grab our LED, place it on the solder pads, and then you're just going to heat up one side. And then heat up the other side. If you need to, you could also add more solder just to make sure you have a solid connection, which is what I'm going to do, just to make sure that we have good contact on the positive and ground. And then once again, just to show you, so white LEDs generally have a yellow film on the front. So as you can see, the new LED has been soldered on there. And now we're just going to go ahead and do pretty much most of these. Kick back, relax, enjoy. Let's do it. So I didn't want to bore you guys too much with just sitting here watching me solder each tiny individual LED. So here we are. Everything has been soldered. The tachometer, speedometer, the gas, and the coolant are all going to be white. The only thing that's not going to be white, I changed the odometer to like a more deep amber. So from this point, what we're going to do before we reassemble everything all back together, we're going to take the board to the actual truck and we're going to test. Now, before I take this out to the truck, this is the first time we're testing it. There may be a chance that one of these LEDs are not going to be working. So if that's the case, you could either touch the sides, make sure the solders make a good connection, or just replace the bulb. It could be a bad LED. Full warning, there may be some out. We'll see what happens. Gauge cluster board has been put back in the vehicle. Let's do a quick test and see if anything needs to be touched up. Ooh, very, very nice. So I see that I'm going to have to touch up on the orange LEDs right here. As you can see, we only have one working. Pull this back out and we'll touch up on these two and see if we can get those to work. So it looked like the middle one just needed a little bit more solder. Let's see if we fixed it. Oh, yep, there we go. Now all three are working. Look at that. I can confirm that everything is working. Now, it should dim. Yeah, I was going to say it should dim if I turn this on. So now that I can confirm that all the LEDs are working as expected, now I'm going to reassemble the whole gauge cluster and we're going to put it all back in the truck. We're basically going to be putting the needles on. I'm using my picture as like a little reference just to make sure I don't put them in the wrong way. Right now I'm letting the engine run. I want to make sure that the gas gauge is working, which it is. The RPMs are working, and I'm just making sure that the coolant temperature is climbing as it's sitting here at idle. Alright, so now that I see that everything's working, I'm going to go ahead and get it all put back together, and we'll reassemble this interior. I'm just going to have you guys sitting right here on the armrest, and we're going to go ahead and start assembling it all back together. I did have to change. I am going to a birthday party. Actually, I want the rear window down anyway. I guess I must have hit it on the remote by accident. The gauges look amazing, guys. I'm so happy I took the time to do this and get it done, but let me just go ahead and show you. No physical change to the actual gauges when they're not turned on. And then let me grab my keys. I'm very, very happy with this. Let me go turn off the garage light so you could really get the full effect. Yes. And just like earlier, they are dimmable. So when I turn on my headlights, for example, they just get this really nice, really easy on the eyes white. I'll be honest with you, the video is making it a lot brighter. This is a very nice white on the eyes. As you can see, I kept everything orange right here. And then when we upgraded those to the amber, it just makes it flow better. And the main reason I wanted to keep this orange is because there's like little selectors inside when I select different modes. this little arrow turns orange, which yes, I could change eventually, but for right now, I just want to enjoy the vehicle and not have to worry about changing everything on it. And same with down here. Whenever I turn on the seat warmers, this turns orange. So I think the white and orange is a nice combination. It's very OEM plus. I mean, I know I sound like a broken record on this channel, but just really bringing this vehicle from 2006 to 2026. Officially today, every bulb on the interior of this car has been converted. And I am so thrilled. I'm so excited to drive this thing at night now. I will, of course, make sure I put links where I got all my bulbs from to make sure you have the same outcome, the same results like I did. Yeah, wow, I'm so happy. I'm sorry. I've done this before. This isn't the first gauge cluster that I've had to solder. I've done this in the past, but it's just fun. It's just fun to be able to take something that was OEM orange. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with the orange. I think the orange is nice. It's very easy on the eyes at night. I just wanted to bring something more into the 2026 era. So thank you so much for tuning in for another video of After 5 Garage. We'll see you guys in the next one.